Right, morning guys. So, welcome back again. So I got some hardware yesterday, assortment of bits and pieces, nuts and bolts and washers and whatever. So I've got some heavy washers and spring washers and stuff to replace some of the stuff that's on this because they're just all broken. Got a couple 12mm nuts to put on those front ones hopefully. Hopefully they'll hold. So a couple of those and some other bits and pieces in there. I think they're all, yeah. Plus some other bits and pieces. And a nut for just to throw on where that castle nut was meant to be. For that back pin. And then I've got a heap of just 516 bolts that will work with both of these vehicles for guard bolts. I don't need any more for here, but I'll use them for other stuff and for, I know I'm bound to use them for on this as well to hold things together with the stuff that's broken and rusted and snapped off and whatever, or stuff that I had to cut to get it off. But yeah, we'll pop a bit of the stuff on. I'm waiting. I was just talking to the compressor people. They are waiting for a part to turn up hopefully this morning. They said they hoped. Because the company I got the compressor off, which is the tool shed in New Zealand, they've got it relayed back through them. And they said to them, it would pay to keep one of those in stock with the amount that they sell, but just as spare parts, but they didn't, so they've had to order one. So I'm hoping that'll turn up this morning to get the compressor going. But they said, the guy said he doesn't know whether that's going to fix it because he thinks, he's not 100% sure, but he thinks the motor's buggered on it. Don't know. It's like it's never given any issues here, but it's weird. He said it's strange and it's worn it out just quick, but I don't know, just everything nowadays. I don't like the SAP. A lot of this stuff is coming from China. But probably if it was locally made or whatever, or made in Japan or something like that. I don't know. They just, I wouldn't say their stuff's, a lot of the cheaper stuff is garbage, but this is half reasonable. Like it's reasonable money. Like over $1,000 for a compressor, for a smallish one should be reasonable money to have something half decent. Most of them don't have a 3-year warranty. Most of them only got a 12-month warranty. That's why we got this one, because it's got a good 3-year warranty with it. Normally you don't expect too many issues, but this is the second issue we've had with this thing. So yeah, I guess it's one of those things. It's either there or you go to a well-known industrial brand, and spend big money. It's one of those things. What do you do? Do you buy another whatever, or do you go and find somebody that sells a decent industrial brand of some description, and spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a compressor that should last 10 years with just basic servicing, before it gives any issues. I've worked in plenty of shops where they've had new compressors. A perfect example is actually a place I used to work for in Tasmania. I was working for the same company when they changed shops and they put all the new system in, and then I come back. So yeah, they moved into that building about 2010. Yeah, partway through 2010, just before Jake was born. And then I worked for them up until 2020. So that's 10 years later, basically. I went away, obviously come back to New Zealand, done other different bits and pieces, and then we moved back to there, worked for them again for, I don't know, almost 3 years, I guess. And, you know, like the compressor gave a few issues in those last 3 years, but, you know, I think we brought out a starter relay and bits and pieces like that, but, you know, it had 10 years of use, you know, in a big industrial workshop. You know, you kind of expect that 10 years later, you know, if you've had the odd issue, well, it's not so bad, but with a compressor that's one man's using it in a shop, you know, really you shouldn't expect too many issues unless you're not really servicing it, if you know what I mean. So like we got basically 12 months-ish out of the first hit, you know, and then it mounted that switch from drawing too much current. So yeah, I don't know, it's just weird. One of those things that shouldn't really do it, but did. I don't know. Don't know. But anyway. Who knows? But anyway, I'm going to carry on. Get a bit of the stuff together. Hopefully I'll get a phone call. I'm hoping that part will arrive this morning. So somewhere between 9 and probably 10:30. They said that part should turn up, depending on the freight, obviously, and who it comes through. And yeah, hopefully they can get that. They can test it, and if it's good to go, it's good to go. If it's not, it's not. But yeah, it'd be nice to freaking go into town and get something. Otherwise, I might go around and borrow Dad's compressor. So at least I got some air to run the die grinder and whatever for a couple of days until they work out what they're doing. It's a pain in the ass because I want pedal steel and I need welding gas. I'll go full that little bottle until we can get this, until that bottle runs out completely. It's like it's almost right out. It's only a couple of ticks above. Well, it's actually one graduation above the empty, so it's almost out. But if we get that bottle full, at least I can just swap it over and carry on. And then I can get the mate to come and swap that one. The delivery, because that's the that big bottle is the one that was donated by Cool Gas, and so yeah, I'll have to pay for one for the small one, and then I'll donate a big one, so I can always keep the small one full, so we can swap over. I've been meaning to do that for ages, but just never quite got around to it. It's one of those things you sort of forget about because you've got one. Typical. Anyway, we'll get this stuff together. Throw a few bolts and washers and whatever, and get some of this bit more stuff buttoned up. And hopefully by then, maybe I've heard I've actually got to bugger off about 10 o'clock anyway. Because the missus has got to go to have a checkup just at the doctor's. I'm going to go with her for that, and then hopefully by that stage we might know whether this compressor's fixed, and we can do a run to town and get some panel steel and a gas bottle and pick up the compressor, or I'll go grab Dad's for a few days and just persevere with that. It's a little 2-cylinder direct drive. It'll be better than nothing for doing what I'm doing. I'm not going to be doing any major DAing with it or anything like that, but yeah. So good. We'll carry on. Get some work done. Stop waffling. I'm good at it. Right, so I got some panel steel sitting over yonder. I've got what else did I do when I was in town? I've got Dad's compressor here in the meantime, so I get that out of the car. And I should have a gas bottle here shortly. So when that big bottle runs out with a little bit that's left, should be good to go there. So what I started doing is just trying to work out to make a buck to form this curved part of this piece here. So I'm just trying to work out what I'm going to want to make, because I actually want to make something that's about, I don't know, say a foot long or whatever, so I can work into it, and I'll make it so it's the depth of whatever this is, if it's even. I think it might be even. Assuming it's even. To here roughly. So it's got a little curve in it, but it's not that bad. It's almost nothing at that end. Yeah, it's close to even. So yeah, I just want to make something. That's the full depth of this. I was just trying to get the shape. I went through the hole saws and I worked out that this, found this one fitted pretty close on the inside of here. It was a little bit big, but by the time you take the cut off and whatever, it's close enough, if you know what I mean. For the average man, it's close enough. You're never going to really know without trying to stamp it in. So you want to make a butt out of this. I'll make it a bit thicker, obviously, so it doesn't break, and I'm not going to make it out of just pine. I'll make it out of, I'll laminate a few bits of hardwood together after I cut the circle out, and then we can trim the rest of it to shape. And I've got the angle of this. I'm assuming that it's not bent. It's not making straight. I'll double check it against the other one. But yeah, so that's the rough shape I need. Obviously deeper, and I'll make it a bit thicker so it's a bit stronger, or I'll glue it. Another piece of board on the back or something like that, so I'll have a heap of layers. That way, all glued together, and then I'll glue a piece on the back of it so it's a bit stronger, and then we'll better use it to help form this. At least get it reasonable. We can work it into it, and then I might, depending on what happens, I might glue a few of these together and maybe put a steel rod or something through the centre. So I might put a hammer on it a little bit or something like that and glue it all together. Try and make it strongish. So we can go over here and smooth it off a little bit, one way or the other, you know, and then a little bit of body filler. Because I'm just not quite sure how I'm going to form that. I don't have a die. I could make one, but you know what I mean. I don't have a die to put in the bead roller to make that shape. And then it almost sort of disappears up here, and nothing. From about here it starts disappearing. And obviously runs around the corner as well. But we can work on that. I can probably make a profile of that shape, just out of something, out of a bead of wood, so we can sort of start hammering it into it and use the straight bit to sort of finish it off, if you know what I mean. Because we can just run it around the curve to hammer it into, as long as we've got something to start it with. So yeah, so it's going to take a bit of making. We'll repair this one, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have to remake the other, and we'll just cut these bits out, like I said the other day. So I'm just trying to work this out. But I'll get that compressor in and get that hooked up, so at least I got some air. And we might carry on with cleaning up this. So I just had a thought come into my head, so I just thought I'd just see if it will work. And yeah, I think it will. I think it's sort of my best solution at the moment. Try and give me a bit of a hammer form, if you know what I mean. I can't think of any other way to do it. I'll just make it so I can clamp it in the vise or something like that, and we can come along and just hammer it, or might be able to put a bend in it, a gentle bend, somehow. Just trying how I'm going to do that. We'll work something out how to get a rough shape into it, and then form the rest. You know, probably better put that bend and that bend in. And maybe put just a couple of gentle bends in a piece or something like that over something, so we can start, and then we can hammer the rest in. We'll work it out. and then rough it out and whatever. Hopefully by the time I finish you won't know, but that'll sort of work further down the track. We're just trying to get a handle on it in the head, or I might make it. But yeah, I'd rather work on the guards and the body and everything else. It's just one of those things that I was trying to work out how to make it. It was in my head, so I think that'll work. Right, I'll get this compressor in here. Right. Now it's mirrored. Hopefully it'll work good enough. What I want to do is start cleaning up some of this joins. Righty, so got the centre caps for this car, for this Judy. I see they've opened these up, but it's still not enough. Because originally they were like this, because it's a big bloody nut in there. So the nuts are still fucking hitting, which is a pain in the ass. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do about it. They may have to take them back and open them up, because like that's a big bloody nut. You know, to fit on there, whereas and that's stretched obviously, but yeah, it's, you can see where it's been touching. I can get onto there, but I still can't get it to start. It's like rubbing on there before it gets on there, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I don't know whether they can mill that out, basically like what it is. But anyway, the compressors turned up too, which is I didn't quite expect. I'm not sure, because they were telling me yesterday that they were waiting on parts. So I don't know. I'll have to find out, to talk to the owner. The only thing I see is missing is the breather's missing off it, which is weird, because that was on it when I dropped it off. So yeah, I'm just not quite sure what's going on here. And I don't see a bottle. I thought the small bottle was going to be here. for the gas. Not that I desperately just need it just right at the moment. I've got a little bit left, but we're on the cusp of running out. Because I'm just trying to work out what I'm going to do here now. Because I've still got to do the welds in there. I was going to do them the other day, but I wanted to get in there with the roll locks just to clear up the steel a bit better, because I was having issues there welding it. I've actually got it weld here. I've got to take the tech screw out here and weld there. I'm going to burn a little bit of the black off, but for the one wee freaking bit there and there, it's not going to hurt. We can touch it up. Yeah. Oh, maybe another weld at the front as well. Well, there wasn't. I knew that was going to sort of happen, but so we've got the welds down there. I got to make a little piece there, put that weld on, and then it will start cleaning up in here. I'm not sure if I mentioned yesterday. I can't remember if I did or not in videos. I don't think I did. When I was picking up the steel, I come across these. These are a completely different brand of what I'm used to. I haven't come across these, but they were pretty freaking cheap. I don't have the don't think I have the bill here, or do I? Well, that might be it. No, that's the stuff from there. This might be still in the back of the car still. I'll have to have a look. Or it might be up. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, these here were about a third of the price of what I've been paying for these 3M ones. These were, $30 they've been paying for those, where these were $12 plus GST. So if you add 15% onto $12, I don't know, what are we talking? Maybe $15. I guess just a rough guess without working it out properly. That wouldn't be that. It'd be like $13.75 or something like that. Oh God, where'd that come from? It was crikey dick. Anyway, yeah, so these are only not too bad money actually. So I'll have to suss out the guys that I got the roll lock stuff off them. Actually, I should check to see what their ones are worth. I've been meaning to do that, to get some flappy wheels off them, to get an idea, because just to get an idea. But these are pretty cheap, so it'll be interesting to see how they last. They feel really solid. They feel real hard. So it'll be interesting to see how they work. If they last just as long as those do, or better, well, shit, I'll get them. So yeah, I'll just give you another look at that brand. I don't know whether they're who or where they're available from. It doesn't really say. But yeah, they're cheap enough. And it comes from the place where I get all the panel steel and whatever from, in town. So yeah, I'll carry on here anyway, and then you'll get this cleaned up, and I might have to get some. I want to get some one-step rust converter for this rust converter primer. So we'll give it a clean, and then we'll spray it with all that shit. I've got a few little bits and pieces I've got to tidy up first, and obviously weld those on and muck around. But yeah, I'd like to get that one-step stuff in here, so I'm not having to clean it off. It's all right on the outside of the body, because you can get a decent clean off on it. But in here, it's not very easy to get it in here to clean it all off. So yeah, you sort of get the best you can, and then you use the one-step converter primer, put that in here, and then texture coat over top of it, and it's fairly well sealed up, if you know what I mean. It's unfortunate. That sort of flashed it a bit. But it's still not that bad, you know what I mean? That one step, you know, once we've wire brushed it and whatever and give it a fairly good hoozle up, we'll get rid of the worst of what's there and then the rest will seal it all up. It's not going to be any worse than what it has been for the last 100 years, so should be right. And it should be garage. I'll get in here and I'll, where this is rotted through, I'll burn a bit of oil in there and we'll clean that up so it's on there decent again. And a few bits and pieces. We're going to have to come back underneath here and maybe touch up a couple little spots. It's not going to be much, so I'm not too panicked. We can just flick a little bit of even rattle can underneath it, just where if it burns a little bit off. If I have to touch it with the welder in a few spots. I'm not too stressed, if you know what I mean. It's still reasonable. There's the odd wee spot we might touch with the welder. If we're a joint it in here, might just put a few little zaps on here without burning it too hot in, if you know what I mean, just enough to join it together, and we'll nick over this with the grinder a little bit and just we'll clean it up and make it fairly solid. You know what I mean? It's solid, but it's just there's a few spots we need to sort. Here you go. I just go hook this back up and I press the fucking air fittings off my regulator, or they've swapped somebody else's shit on there. Found that. So yeah, I don't know what the fuck they've done here. They've taken the two air fucking fittings off. I have to give them a bloody ring and see what's going on. Actually, I don't think there was ever on there either. I don't know if this is my compressor. Could be. I don't know. It could be, I guess. It all looks really fresh, doesn't it? I don't know, it's weird. That looks like it's always been there though. I don't remember that being quite so rusty. You know what I mean? I wonder if I've got the wrong fucking compressor. What the filter's like, because they look really good. They look like they might have been changed. They might have put some fresh ones in there maybe. But yeah, I don't know. It's almost like they've had two apart and I don't know, it's weird. So definitely haven't got the right fittings on there. Tool shed. I wonder if he's picked up the wrong fucking compressor. I wonder if he's picked up the wrong compressor. I wonder. I don't know. Righty, looks like another trip to town. So yeah, this isn't as. It's the same. But yeah, this made me second guess and the wrong fittings. And this is rusty, whereas it was pretty clean. Yeah. I was like, oh, it's as, but I was like, well, I don't know if it was actually, like, this is like sort of different, this is like more dirt from like a road or an open shed. Yeah, so, I don't know. That's all good. Funny. Oh. Yeah, we'll drop it back in, and hopefully they're still waiting on the part for Az, so. Anyway, if we can't pick Az up, we'll shit happens first. Gotta get back in there somewhere. Oh, you don't want to be.
No.
Righty, so took the other compressor back. The other one's still not ready to go. I only just ordered the part. I'm not sure if I said that before or not. But anyway, I just ripped down a heap of timber, hardwood, to make a buck, or whatever you want to call it. So we're going to mimic this, obviously make it a little bit longer. It's going to be a little bit longer this way, not so much this way, if you know what I mean. So it reaches there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue probably a couple of pieces, well, hold a couple of pieces together anyway, drill the hole through where I want it, obviously work out all the dimensions, and some way I can repeat that for all of them, and then I can come along and trim this other piece off, and then I'll just double check this angularly piece on the other one, make sure it's the same, and then we'll cut that, and then obviously I'll do a little bit of finishing work on it, make it, smooth it out a bit with the DA, run along there so they're all even. I might even use the belt sander, I'm not sure, because I just use the belt sander just to take the worst of the roughness off so I can glue them together. So then we'll glue them in a big block and sand it up and whatever. So I just want to get this sort of started, and then probably take me a fair chunk of the afternoon anyway to do this, or to get it close to being sorted, I guess. And then I'll cut another piece to put on the back of it, so I can make something that I can maybe screw to it or whatever, screw a bit of pine to the other piece and then glue it to this, so I can hold it in the vise, so I can hammer on it, or something like that anyway. So I've got some way of holding it, so not having to try and hold this in the vise, because it's going to be quite wide. It's 10 inches deep or a bit more, 10 and a half. So yeah, I want some way of holding it in the vise, or somewhere, or maybe in the wood vise or something, and then we can hammer into the other piece when we get the metal piece to the point where we're ready to hammer in and stretch it. Righty, so what I come up with, so I put one underneath, one on top, cut this piece out, line the back edge up, so that started my hole for here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep doing that, punching it through. I'm also going to get a piece of wood out of there, which is might be easier said than done each time, but I've got a hole to start with for the next one. So hopefully we can get this sorted, if you know what I mean. Righty, so I've got all our holes drilled. I was actually, Dad just turned up for a few minutes to have a look around. He's going to actually come down mid next week, and we're going to tackle the, I'll give you a hand to get the Studebaker up and running. We'll get the oil in it and all that sort of stuff, and muck around and work out the wiring and just work out what get it running. Hopefully, and fire it up. As long as everything works right, as long as obviously the starter works okay and all that sort of stuff. You know, we've tested it, we've bench tested it, but we haven't obviously tried to put a load on it and wind a motor over. But, so yeah, we're going to do that early next week. Because yeah, it'd be nice to get that running at least. And then we're going to hunt, see if we can hunt down something. We've got bits and pieces of the inside of the headlights to put bulbs and stuff in. But it's not, we haven't got everything, if you know what I mean, like there's bits missing. So we're going to see if we can come up with something to do that as well. Or at least come up with a game plan to look for something or try and find something. But anyway, so I'm just going to set up this table saw to cut this in, sorry, wrong way around. Cut this like that on all of these, so they're all the same hopefully. So yeah, I'll set the saw up so I can just go and then push it up to here, and when it gets to in here we can stop and then lift them out, and then we can also come along and cut whatever else. And I've still got to check this piece, I haven't double checked that, but we can get this, then we can just nick this through there after that on the bandsaw and get this piece out of the road, and then we can glue it together or whatever, and come up with the next plan, if you know what I mean. And then I'll eventually, like I said, we'll glue a piece across the bottom. But we'll get a rough, I'll just go through these quickly, just make sure they're all about the same. It should be. Awesome, don't need that now. A few minutes anyway. So we'll need a piece for the bottom, so. We're going to trim the bits off we don't want, and then we'll organise to clamp it together and glue a piece on the bottom. Right, so I got my buck roughed out. Unfortunately, it wasn't very easy to get these to cut square because I was trying to cut them through the bandsaw and the blade wanders a little bit. But it's roughed in. Shush. And we got all these bits lined up, the curves line up pretty well. What I'll do is once it's glued, because I'm gluing it to this as well, I've got this block of 4x2 underneath whatever that is, 8x2, that I've glued this down to, so it's glue underneath as well as glue in between. Hopefully there's enough there because I used everything that was left. Yeah, and in the morning when it's dried, we'll do a little bit of fine tuning and shaping and smoothing it out. So yeah, so hopefully I'll get it clamped down enough that it's should be pretty good, I hope. Yeah, we'll better smooth it out and make it look good. At least then we've got a pattern for that, and we can go from there to at least beat that into, and we can put the couple of bends in it that we need to put in it here and there, and then we can finagle that in there. Probably what I'll do is when I make this, because I'll probably have to bend it. Those same guys will get all my measurements worked out, and what I'll do is probably put a couple of small breaks in this, just so I can, or maybe 2 or 3, just little bends in it, and then we'll come along and then we can hammer it into that shape, and I'll just keep moving along, and that'll give me a start. I have to be careful because I won't be able to do it around here, but at least if I can get that piece into it, we can finagle the rest of it probably on that,
and then we can hammer the rest in and go from there. I'll make that shape for that end anyway. I don't know if I worry about putting the curve in it, but at least if I get something I can work on it, you know, we can at least get that shape into it, and then we can sit it on here or something and pound that curve into it a little bit. We don't really need it from sit here on. It basically disappears from here on. It's pretty much consistent, I'd say, up to about here, and then it starts disappearing. So yeah, we can manage the rest of it and hammer it out. Like it's sort of here, but it disappears, if you know what I mean. So it just blends out to here. We'll work it, make it work. But yeah, at least we got that started, and we can carry on. So yeah, that'll do. Hopefully none of them breaks off. We're not going to be hitting out here anyway, so it's just to get this position without too much movement. You know, we can sort of, I don't know whether we can maybe put a couple of clamps on or something just so it holds in position or whatever, you know, and then we can go from there. I was hoping I could find a piece of wood that was the right width, but it doesn't really matter. That's screwed on with 2 or 3 big frickin' teak screws. So yeah, it should be good. That should give us something to work with anyway. Right, so taking the clamps off, I just will quickly run on the belt sander just to knock some of the levels down close. So I've actually got a belt sander at home, a hand one, like a big wide one. Oh, the belt wouldn't be as wide as that, but it might be close to that. So I'm going to bring it down here in the morning, and I'll just run it along here and see if we can get this even up a little bit better. We'll take it backwards between that, because I can actually lay the bulk of this on here. You know, you can see what it runs to, but it doesn't quite get everything, if you know what I mean. I'm hoping I might be able to just run it along there quietly without too much pressure on, and just even this up if I can. Hopefully the radius is reasonable, close to the same. It won't matter if it's not dead exact. You can't look at both sides, but as long as we've got that basic, we'll flatten this off reasonable. I've taken the worst of it off. We'll take a bit more of it. We'll just get it reasonable, and at least then we can work on maybe getting that remade. So yeah, we'll get this made, and then I'll work out what I need. Lay that sheet out somewhere. I'll get the sawhorses, not the sawhorses, the panel stands set up, and we can cut some of that off once we work out what we need, and then I'll lay out where I need to bend it and whatever, and then I'll probably have to take it around to those horse float guys which help bend that longer stuff. At least their boulder will be long enough, and we can put a few bends in it, and we can start making it. I wasn't going to start making that first, but I want a challenge, so you know what I mean. So I thought might start with the hardest piece first, but one of the more difficult, awkward pieces, and then we can get it close. I'm hoping to reuse that bracket once we get a bit further. I don't think we'll use this one. This one's pretty hammered. Yeah, and then like I said, we'll cut that off and that out. Once we get it dialed in, you know, we can mark where it needs to be, get it lined up, and chop it out, weld it in. But yeah, that's a good start. In theory, if I set that up there, that should have fit on there pretty good. I'm hoping. Yeah, that's something reasonable. We might have to round the ends of that off too, but you know, we can use this to test. See in there, I think it fits pretty well. Have a quick look down the side, underneath. Yeah, we're ballpark. You know, it'll be good enough for what we need to do. So yeah, and then we can get, like I said, if we put 2 or 3 little bends in here, to bend it to get to that rough shape, and we can hammer the rest in. And then come along, hammer it in, use the buck, get the bulk of the shape in all the way along. You know, we can move this along, we can put a clamp on here if we need to hold it in place. Just kind of why I made it so I can hold it in a vise. And we can clamp it on with one of those clamps and whatever, and hammer along, move it along, hammer along, get it all fitting. This will be the fun piece, but we can make that shape. A couple of layers glued over and whatever, and we can sort of rough hammer it in, and then we can use this in that corner with that radius and make it work. I think that'll work nicely. I don't think it'll be too difficult really once we get going. It's just, sometimes it just takes a few minutes to think about what all you need to do to get it to work on it. So I think, yeah, 2 or 3 little bends in here. We'll just work out where the radius needs to start, and we'll just we'll get this in probably, and then do a couple little kicks, poking out or something like that, just so it comes up almost sort of 90 degrees from here, for this here to that there, and then we can use this to dial it in. It's kind of the plan. I did have one more stick, but when I went to cut this piece, it broke through here weird, so one's not going to make a difference. This one, unfortunately, the piece broke off, but I could have glued that on if we really wanted to. But it's actually slightly thicker. It's actually slightly higher cut. These are a wee bit thinner. Okay. Just kind of what it is. It's sort of left a bit funny, so I don't want a funny piece in there if I could avoid it. We can get a reasonable edge on there, or at least we can hammer it down on here to get a nice sort of sharp edge in there. So that's cool. We'll carry on that tomorrow. At least it'll be nice and hard, and the glue will be really hardened up by then. Dress her up, finish her off, and then we can start making that. Right, morning guys. So welcome back again. So I've grabbed the belt sand from home. This thing, so it's probably got a similar width belt to that, not quite as wide. This is a it's 100. It's about 4 inches wide. I don't know what that width is. I can't remember. I think it's 6 inches wide. Yeah, I think it's 6. But anyway, I think this will work quite nicely just for finishing this off, and it should do it reasonably quickly. Looks like that roller is, I guess, a similar sort of profile to that front roller, so I can come along and just sort of try and even this all out. So I'll put some air masks on. I might even put my mask on, because there'll be a lot of freaking dust and shit floating around. We'll get this cleaned up, and then I'll organise myself and set up that sheet, and we'll work out what we need, get some measurements going, work out exactly how much material we need width-wise. I'll add a little bit for this ish. We'll have to have a fairly good measure up, and we'll cut a piece off, mark out what we want. I might get a little bit of scrap, not just find a skinny piece that we can make this profile out of quickly, just on that folder, so I can get a more accurate idea of dimensions, especially with this, because this will gather up a bit when we do it, and
If I can get that worked out, then I can work out my exact dimensions and not end up too short or something like that, or end up with something too long in here or something, if you know what I mean. End up with, put these bends in, then they're too far apart or something stupid, and I've got to cut it off or rebend it. I want to try and avoid that if I can. Like, you can hide so much with the body full of it. Yeah, like if I can get this bend right and these bends in the right place the first time, well, you're not screwing around chasing your tail trying to rebend something, because you're going to end up rebending this one to get it right. And it's this actually has got a gentle curve right here, and it almost goes to a point at that end. So I'm going to have to work that out too. This is a bit of a radius in it. But I can actually, do a small series of breaks and get that in and sort of just not move it at that end. We can work that out a little bit too, just in case we have to go slightly wider at one end than the other. But yeah, we'll get the mask, we'll get sanding, and then we'll work that out, just in case there is a big difference from one end to the other. Right, I actually thought I'd made a fucking video on this, but I hadn't. So, I've sanded this down. It's reasonable. Unfortunately, I've got a bit of a bow, but it's not going to matter too much. It's more to get rough shape in when we bend and fold and whatever. You know, it'll hold a reasonable straight, and this will just be help. Okay. I had the door open, so a bit extra wasn't coming in, but to get shape in. But anyway, so I've roughed that in. I might do a little bit more work to it. I might try and straighten this edge up a little bit. But started around here, pulled that piece of sheet metal in and laid it on a couple of panel stands. So I'm just going through this. I got my little square, and just in a few spots along, I've drawn a bit of a line. I've taken some measurements. I started off by taking measurement in here and up 20 mils, or a little bit over 3/4 of an inch. 19 mils is about 3/4, so just slightly over. I'm just using nice round, you know, even freaking measurements. You know, 20 mils is 2 centimeters, whatever. You know, it's a nice and even measurement from down in here up all the way along here. You know, 20 up and 20 up, and then measuring from here to here before the radius starts in here. So that's 170 mils, which is, I don't know. There we go. So 170 mils is not about 6 3/4, and 180 is a touch over 7, so 7 1/8. This is almost 190 mils, which is about not quite 7 1/2, and then this drops back down again, the measurement to 184 in here. So I'm just trying to get some rough measurements, and also I'm doing some measurements out here. I haven't measured this piece down here yet. I'm just going through, and I've measured up from where roughly this radius starts. So obviously it's almost nothing here. It's just a bend, but it slowly grows. I'm just trying to work it out, and then I'll try and measure this at the extreme, so I can lay it out in here, and then when I come to bend this, I can do a few little kicks and try and get this radius in here roughly, and then we'll have to hammer and dolly this a little bit. So yeah, this is a bit awkward because it's not it doesn't really matter that it's square or not, but it just, yeah, I'll have to work out what this extreme measurement is, and I'll lay this out. I'll do some measurements along here and work out what the distance is between these, so I can mark it out here and draw a square again, or square-ish. It's not really square to this edge because it's not square, but I'm just drawing a square on this bend. But yeah, just trying to work out
so I can lay it out and get a rough idea where all my measurements have been. I'll add this on and roughly draw on all these other pieces and then mark this out. But yeah, I need to bend, I don't know, probably 4, 5, 6 little kinks in here till we get to whatever angle this is. We should be roughly 90. So it'll be like a whole little bends in here that basically won't move anywhere. But by the time you get out to here, there'll be, an 1/8 of an inch in between them, or thereabouts, if you know what I mean, to get this nice sort of reasonable radius that we can come along and hammer and dolly a little bit later on to just smooth the bumps out of it. And a scraper body filler over there and a bit of a block, and they'll disappear. I can probably do something similar here too, but I've made the form so we can at least hammer it into it. But you can see where it sort of starts disappearing. This round piece here almost flattens out from about, I'd say from probably here back. It starts flattening out, and then it's nothing here. But it's still got a wee bit of radius out here. It's kind of hard to feel because of the freaking holes, and then we're going to try and obviously blend that in. But I'm just laying out, taking some measurements. I'm about to do a measure down here, just to get my distances in between. I'll go from here, and then we'll just add this on, so I can get a rough measurement, and then I know how far to put those positions, so I can get my measurements and bends right. Righty. So let's do some quick measurements down here, and we'll just get our distance back. Pretty good. 100 mils, 4 inches. I'm just going to write the total measurement. My line, so it's fucking dead on there. 345. A little bit more figuring, and then we'll probably cut that out. Righty, so I got my piece cut off. I'm just marking the other side of it so I can obviously know where the bends are meant to be depending on which way they're meant to be. So this is the outside of the panel. Well, that's come from the black marker. I don't know what I've done with it. I must have dropped it somewhere. Oh, yeah, it's over there. It's over here. I don't know what's that. I can see it here. I'm going to try and go to
these guys out the road if they're not too busy. I can use the machine and at least get some of this bent up and go from there. So I'll have to, this will be kicked out. I'll probably have to do this, these two bends in a gradually, because the blade is very deep. I'll try. You know, I might. That's the worst thing. In fact, it's too short doing this big stuff. I'll see how I get on. Might just have to break this a couple of times because it's a reasonable depth, but it's still pretty narrow. A lot of the machines I used to work on actually were quite good. They had a bit like this where you could actually take the extension off, but the blades are very deep, but only about, I think they're only about half an inch, they might have been only half an inch thick at the top, because it was like cut in, and then they had a big heavy square that you could bolt on it if you needed it. But most of it was done, you know, wasn't very wide, so you could get in and do a lot of these little funny bends, but even though it was like massively long, 7 meters or whatever it was long, the longest one that I worked on, way back 20 years ago. Shit. Yeah. But, so I have to break this a couple of times, and then this here will be our curve. So I'll poke this out of the machine. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do here either, to be honest. Just been thinking about it with that machine. If I can get a couple of breaks in here, even, just to get this to the right sort of profile, and then we can hammer that into that form. I'm hoping I might have to shorten that form a little bit to allow for in here, but I don't know, it should be, yeah. We'll have to double check, see what the depth difference is, because this is the longest part here. That's the shortest part, and then we'll have to put this in as well. So yeah, I'm hoping that I can do all this in sort of one hit, and then bring it back and start hammering this in, and then I'll make that end piece out of, probably out of a couple of bits of this ply, glue it together, shape it. You know, I might have to glue 3 layers of this ply together, unless I've got some thicker stuff floating around somewhere. A few scraps, and we'll build this up so it's the right level. I have a piece that sits over here, and then have this piece, whatever, a rough thickness that it needs to be. It doesn't have to be dead perfect, and we can hammer it in to get this last of this curve in it. But yeah, I might throw this in the wagon, and we'll go have lunch, and then we'll put this. It's been working out how I'm going to do it, thinking about it and whatever, and mucking around. So yeah, I'm hoping that machine doesn't screw me up. Hoping I can get it done. We'll need the length of the machine. We'll try. We'll get it. We'll get some of it bent up anyway. We'll work it out. I might take that piece with me just so I've got a reference, just in case I decide I'm going to bend something in the wrong direction. But yeah, catch you later on. Righty, got the beginnings of the valance there bent up, so we'll head back to the workshop and try and find a cool spot, and we'll start hammering. Needs to be on the other side. Oh, I'll fix that and I'll come back to this. Right. So got me form back up the right way. Just starting to do a little bit of shaping. I cut this corner out. Do a little bit of shaping just to start to roll it. I'm going to come along here and I'm going to actually flatten. Should I cut that down? Yes. Cut that so I can flatten some of this down. And then we can bake this into here. Hopefully. Righty, so I'll turn that off because I'm about to go anyway. I haven't obviously finished this end yet. I haven't hammered that back out and smoothed it out and run that bit of a curve. It sort of kind of runs up into here. We'll have to put a little bit of shape into here. But pretty happy with this. After you've seen me have it on here, I set it back down there and realised it just wasn't quite deep enough. So I clamped it back down, put a couple of screws in it, clamped the boards down, and I hammered it back into here a bit more. I haven't pulled it off and sort of re-flattened this area, but we're looking pretty good. I know it's not quite the right shape, but you can't look at it at the same time. I might just have a wee look in behind, and I might put a little bit more shape in behind here and just hammer this back in a little bit. You know, like we've got plenty of, well, I wouldn't say we've got plenty of time, but you know what I mean. We got plenty of meat in here. We can back this in here a little bit if we have to, just to make it right. Obviously, I'll do a lot of trimming and whatever. But that's looking good. I've got my hole roughly marked. I roughly know where that's meant to be. And everything sort of sits over it and lines up pretty good. Apart from that being a slight pain in the butt. But if we get, that's actually better there. That fit over there. We'll have to redraw that. But it doesn't matter anyway. It's just, it was a bit of a guide where it needed to be. But I'm pretty happy with that so far. Pretty happy with that so far. It's coming along pretty good. I'm actually quite glad I didn't actually, when I folded this, I only could get a couple of 3 bites at it, just because of the way after doing this, just the way it sort of felt. I actually cared to come along while this was sort of sitting, down. I had to kind of squash it down, and actually sort of pulled a bit of a gentle bend into it anyway. It's probably a little sharp, but again, you know, I can put a little smear body filler down there and just do a wee bit of work, and we can just flatten it off a little bit. Because I started hammering it in there to try and pull it into shape, and it wasn't really achieving much. Like that was kind of a waste of time, but you know, you never know, do you? The thought was there. You know, I can use it for something else to beat a shape and do lower some other time, but you know, or we can use it to hammer this in a little bit or whatever. It's a little sharp, but it was kind of how it sort of worked, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I might be able to use it just to maybe just take a little bit of harshness out of this. It's a little square, but it is what it is. Like I said, you can't look at both sides at the same time. It's going to be close enough that most people won't know. So yeah, without having the stamps that they use to stamp it out, or you know, you're trying to do the best you can. But by the time we'll finish, you know, most people won't know that it wasn't the original. So just looking at it, so that's cool. We're close. We're close to having this one sort of, yeah, we're probably 80% there, 70-80% there at the moment. You know, I'm still going to make these bits. You know, actually, I'm going to try and rob, I think this one. We'll weld that on the back, and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, I'll probably have to remake that one because it's pretty rotten. But that one there, I might better save and actually use on here. That was my plan anyway. So yeah, we'll carry on. I'm about to head off home. It's too freaking hot. My phone actually overheated before when I was videoing, so it's kind of why it stopped. But we'll see you tomorrow anyway. Cheers.